What's happening, YouTube? Last Speech, man. Back another video. Listen, man, I put up a video yesterday, snapped out on Jason Kelce pretty much. I kind of blanked out a little bit, using foul language in the whole nine, YouTube wasn't feeling it too much, you feel me? So I ended up taking it down. Actually, a couple of Eagles fans, man, like soft Eagles fans had an issue with it, man. So I decided to go ahead and remove it, man. But still, listen, I'm still not feeling Jason Kelce in terms of like him being torn on who to root for. You, as far as I'm concerned, that man, he's supposed to root for the team that he played for, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, forget him. He not on the team, so doesn't really matter, man. Don't really matter. So anyway, the next thing we got is on the facility yesterday. Where Emmanuel Acho probably comes up with the question, proposes the question to the guys, to the panel. And the question is, if Jalen Hurts wins the Super Bowl, if he wins the Super Bowl against the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, does this now put him in the conversation, the Hall of Famer conversation? You know what I mean? And pretty much you had Shady answer in the affirmative. You had James Jones was kind of all over the place like he kind of tends to do, but he kind of said, if you just look at it outwardly, talking about a guy in his 5th year, been to 2 Super Bowls, made an all-pro team, was in the playoffs pretty much every year. He said, yeah, I mean, you assume he wins. Yeah, that's a Hall of Fame, track. Acho, I can't quite remember exactly what his answer was, but he was pretty positive this time on Jalen Hurts, more than he normally is. Normally he nitpicking little stuff here and there. He was pretty positive overall. So now you had the one guy, right? The guy on there who's there to be the so-called expert when it comes to quarterbacks and quarterback play. Though he himself, when he played, Chase Daniel, was nowhere, not he wasn't a starter quarterback for anybody. The only time I remember him getting an opportunity to be a starter was for the 2016 Philadelphia Eagles, the year when they had drafted Carson Wentz with the number 2 overall pick in the draft that year. And Chase Daniels was pretty much given the starting job. He was there, of course, to be a bridge quarterback for Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz, the idea was he wasn't quite ready to start, and that he would sit probably either that whole season or most of the season, depending on, of course, how Chase Daniels played. And, that was kind of the setup. So Chase Daniel, as it seems, was so horrible in preseason. I mean, so horrible that he didn't even get to start week 1. You know what I mean? That's who you're talking about. Now, I get it, his opinions and whether or not he was a good player may not be relevant, but oftentimes you see, I think the way a guy was as a player, I think can affect some of the way they perceive other players. And I think this is what's happening with Chase Daniel. I think he's of the belief because, he was kind of on the small side. A guy like under 6 feet, not necessarily athletic, definitely don't have the best arm talent type of guy. When we talk about Chase Daniels, I think he believes or sees Jalen Hurts as similar to him in some type of way. Though Hurts is not similar to him at all. But I think to him, he doesn't see Hurts as being like one of them ones, that's over 6 for, you know what I'm saying, the guys we always talk about, the people that everybody crowns to be king, before they conquer anything. You know what I mean? King's supposed to conquer something. But these kings they talk about here are guys that are just giving shit, basically because of certain God-given things, like their size and speed and all that old bullshit, right? So I think he believes Hurts is somehow in his category, but for some reason is getting over because he got all this talent that he's playing around and all that kind of stuff, right? And I think that goes into some of the way he perceives Hurts. Because this guy, he acts like to give Hurts a compliment for anything that Hurts does, it's like pulling teeth. It's like pulling teeth, man. Like it pains him to say Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback or whatever. So he the only guy there that comes out his mouth saying that to put Hurts in that conversation, even if he wins the Super Bowl, he said it's asinine. It's asinine to do so. You know what I mean? And then from there, there's a little bit back and forth between the guys and so on and so forth. And basically, he comes to, when they ask questions about what makes a Hall of Fame quarterback and all of that. And basically, it's the same stuff I always tell y'all. Most guys and most people I've found are very shallow in their thinking. Most people, they believe in, as far as their beliefs, they believe in things that have nothing to do with the actual makeup of the character of the player. In other words, most motherfuckers, a GM or a person who's giving an opinion on a player, has more faith in the tangible things. By that I mean the size of the person, the size of their hands, the size of their legs and feet, and how far they throw the ball and how fast they run and all of those types of things, more than the real shit. You know what I mean? Like a person's ability, when I say real shit, I mean a person's ability to say overcome hardship. A person's mindset. The shit that gets a nigga up every morning, that gets a guy up every morning, that has a guy in the gym 5 a.m., that has a guy spending extra hours on film. Those things, that has a guy, like for example, we talk about Jalen Hurts. I saw AJ Brown on one of the young guys who are into the reaction business, who react to the NFL games. I think his name Janky Rondo or something like that. Shout out to him. I'm seeing myself, I need to get into the reaction business personally, because that reaction business is where it's at. I think I'm gonna get into that, But the case, he was able to get in touch with AJ Brown because AJ Brown likes to play, Madden and play NCAA football and all of that. So my man was fortunate enough to get AJ Brown on. AJ Brown watches his videos and came on. He asked AJ Brown, does Jalen Hurts play the game, play NCAA and Madden and all that? And AJ was just like, nah. Yeah. And the point I'm bringing this up is those are the things I look at. Like Jalen Hurts is so much into his craft and into football and into trying to be perfect and all of those things. He don't even play video games. None of that, man. You know what I'm saying? He's just a different type dude. He don't spend time on social media. None of that. Now, he's obviously hearing some of the talk, some of the criticism that's thrown his way. I don't know how. I don't know if he's tuning in. I don't know if people just telling him. I don't know what it is. But basically, he's seen as a guy, man, that's all business, Chase Daniel is the type of guy who doesn't look at any of that stuff, man. All business. He don't care about that. What he care about is your size and all of that. So for him, it's hard because of the package Jalen Hurts comes in for him to give him his props. I believe that's what it boils down to. Like all that shit about he's not consistently passing for 300-400 yards and all of that. I have a hard time believing that it really comes down to that stuff, because I'm saying you've already seen Jalen Hurts have a season where he was consistently scoring, where he's consistently throwing for good numbers and all that. So much so, he was league twice. He was in the lead, Vegas odds to win MVP. People forget last year when the Eagles were 10-1. That moment when Jalen Hurts sealed that win against Josh Allen in Buffalo, at that moment, Jalen Hurts was the Vegas odds to win MVP. Last year, not talking about 2022, I'm talking about last season, before the team inevitably, fell apart due to a number of reasons. So he's already played all that type of stuff, took over games, because that was the thing Chase Daniel said, got to be a game changer, take over games. Jalen Hurts already done all that stuff, man. He's done all that shit. Nobody can look at that Buffalo game and think that he didn't take that game over, and it's crazy that we've been dealing with this nonsense all year. But that's what he says, asinine. And this is what I'm going to say about that. Listen, I felt that in 2022, if Jalen Hurts doesn't miss those 2 games as a result of getting hurt in that game against the Chicago Bears, where because he got hurt and then the Eagles decided to, sit him a couple of games and all that. I always felt if Jalen Hurts doesn't get hurt and miss those 2 games, and they go on to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl, which they were very close to doing, by the way, and gets MVP of the Super Bowl, which he was very close to getting, by the way, and which he would have got had they won, that right there would have solidified his Hall of Fame career. With the assumption that every year after 2022, he don't just fall off a cliff. You know what I mean? He trashed 10 interceptions, 12 interceptions every year, not making playoffs and all of that. But if he just kept just a decent career, I mean like a Phillip Rivers level career or just a Kurt Warner level career, that he would be in the Hall of Fame because of that 1 year, 2022. That's the position I had. Because you're talking about MVP, Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl victory. So, obviously, I'm of the opinion that he's definitely on a Hall of Fame track right now. 5 seasons, 2 Super Bowl appearances. Now, their premise was if he won. Now, if he wins, to me, absolutely, he should be on a Hall of Fame track if he wins the Super Bowl. Now, the only thing that could stop that is if somehow after this season, he just falls off a cliff. Let's say he played 10 more seasons and he was just horrible, or, God forbid, a catastrophic injury where he just can't play again, and you figure, maybe it's hard to put in a guy who only had 5 seasons in the league, or, something unforeseen of this nature. I don't see how Jalen Hurts isn't, put in the Hall of Fame, especially when you consider Eli Manning, who's in the Hall of Fame, and really outside of his 2, historic runs at the Super Bowl, he really hasn't no other season that you could look at and say, wow, that was amazing, an amazing season, and I believe he should be in the Hall of Fame. Do I believe he's just this Hall of Fame talent player? Yes and no, but what is that? What is this Hall of Fame talent player and all of that shit? Joe Namath. People wouldn't say he was that. Troy Aikman. People wouldn't say he was that. Kurt Warner, which is the main guy I want to bring up. Kurt Warner is a guy I don't believe should be in the Hall of Fame. We're going to keep it all the way 100. Did he throw a pretty ball? Yes. Was he one of those, nice pocket passers with timing and all of this? Yes. But was he a guy that you have to say is in the same situation as Jalen Hurts? Absolutely. And one could argue he was in a better situation for most of his year than Jalen Hurts. You got to look at Kurt Warner's, situation. You're talking about the quarterback of the greatest show on turf. Running back, Marshall, top offensive line they had in the league. They had a top one. Orlando Pace on that line, probably the best tackle in the league, in his time. Marshall Faulk at running back, who was league MVP that year when they got to the Super Bowl. League MVP was Marshall Faulk. 1,000 yards receiving, 1,000 yards rushing type of running back. Wide receiver, Isaac Bruce, who at the time was a multi-hundred catch a year guy, who should be in the Hall of Fame. I think he just made it. He should have made it there faster than that, in my opinion. Torrey Holt, who was probably should have been the Rookie of the Year that year. He comes in catching 80, 90 balls. I ain't got his stats in front of me immediately. He had all types of seasons where he was catching over 100 balls. You had Al-Zahir Hakim. I would put their receiving core over the receiving core of the Philadelphia Eagles this year. Simply because, their slot corner, Az Hakim, was a speedster. Was a perfect guy you would want there. Then I believe they had Ricky Prohl that year, who was a veteran, short-handed veteran. One of those crafty type receivers. That team was loaded, man. Now, I don't think they had the defense the Eagles have this season, but hey, you're talking about the greatest show on turf. They were so magnificent, they received a nickname. Kurt Warner, that was his only year where he made, he didn't make the Super Bowl. He made the Super Bowl 2 other times. I give him that. The second year, he made the Super Bowl, I believe, the year after with the greatest show on turf. They lost to Tom Brady, the young Brady. And this was in 2001. Yeah, they lost to young Brady that year. And then he was able to make it to the Super Bowl one other time. This was with the Cardinals later in his career. And this was, though, after a number of lackluster seasons. Seasons where he was with the Rams for a little bit, then he was with the Giants for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But when he was with the Cardinals, he got hooked back up, with a great team, which I don't hold against him. But you got to look at that. Larry Fitzgerald. Did they have Anquan Bolden too? That I'm not sure. Maybe not. Maybe Anquan had left by then. But you're talking about Larry Fitzgerald. Edgerrin James, I believe, was their running back. They had a really, really good team. That was probably the best Cardinal team we've ever seen. So Kurt Warner's in the Hall of Fame. You got to look at his career. I would say Jalen Hurts' trajectory right now is definitely above a Kurt Warner's. Unless you're just looking at the fact that Kurt Warner put up stats. You know what I mean? If you one of those people that's into that, I'll never even try to convince you. We just don't see football the same if you're just looking at that. You know what I'm saying? So I think Jaden Daniels, man, he just a hater. He's just a hater. So you got him out there with that nonsense to say he's asinine. Like, why would it be asinine? You got him out there saying that. And then who else you got? You got Michael Irvin hating. But I already understand where that comes from. Michael Irvin know what time it is, man. He just got that cowboy energy. You know what I'm saying? He's so upset. His Cowboys, not doing what they supposed to do, letting him down and all that, which I understand. I ain't even mad at Irv, man. I totally get that. You know what I'm saying? But he tripping. His arguments is trash, But listen, man, we got a Super Bowl coming up. Team locked in. Next week is going to be fun. NFL Network and ESPN and all of them probably going to be doing coverage all week. You know what I mean? That's going to be live. I can't wait to see what's going on with that, man. So we definitely going to be going live. Definitely going live for the Super Bowl. Probably have a party, man. Oh, nah, man. It'd be fun, man. So look forward to y'all tuning in. And we're going to be having some good stuff for y'all. So thanks, man. Please like, share, subscribe, man. And I will see y'all soon, man. Peace out.